For 70 years, U.S. supercarriers have ruled the open ocean unchallenged. Now 3,000 Chinese sailors live and fight inside an 80,000-ton warship armed with the only non-American electromagnetic catapults ever built. On September 22, 2025, those catapults hurled a fifth-generation stealth fighter off her deck for the first time. But before a single jet launches, thousands must survive the steel city sealed beneath it. Below the armored deck of the Fujian, space is measured in centimeters, not comfort. Each sailor claims a rack just 0.75 meters wide and 1.9 meters long, barely enough for a body and a folded uniform. Bunks stack 4 high in steel compartments that never see sunlight, separated only by thin curtains and the constant hum of machinery. Personal lockers line the walls, but there's little room for anything beyond the essentials. A toothbrush, a ration of instant noodles, earplugs to blunt the engine's roar. The ship's 3,000 crew move through a relentless cycle governed by the clock, not the calendar. The 4-watch system divides every day into 6-hour blocks. Sailors rotate between duty and rest, with 12 hours off split by 2 6-hour shifts on watch. For flight deck hands and catapult teams, this rhythm means waking at odd hours, sometimes before dawn, always ready for a surge of action. Engineering crews follow a 3-watch 8-hour cycle, trading longer shifts for fewer handovers. Air wing personnel and combat information teams work in 8-hour stretches, aligning their watches to flight operations and briefings. Inside the berthing spaces, the air is thick with recycled breath and the scent of machine oil. Full-spectrum LED lights mimic sunrise and sunset, but the mind knows it's artificial. Noise is constant, the thrum of turbines, the rattle of ventilation ducts, the distant clang of tools. Many sailors sleep with earplugs pressed deep, but even then, rest comes in fits. Fatigue is a constant companion, especially when the carrier's tempo rises for flight operations. At 0400 hours, Zhang Hao's alarm vibrates against the steel frame of his bunk. He slips out quietly, careful not to disturb his watch buddy, and heads for the locker room, already bracing for another cycle of duty in the ship's unending day. On the Fujian, the galley hums around the clock. Induction stoves and convection ovens replace open flames, turning out rice, stir-fried pork, and steamed vegetables with electric precision. Safety comes first, no sparks, just the constant whir of fans and the clang of trays. At peak times, the kitchen crew serves up to 2,500 meals an hour, moving in a practiced rhythm. Breakfast might be soy milk and dumplings, lunch brings noodles or Western-style protein packs. Tray carts wind through the ship, matching the ever-shifting watch schedule, so a hot meal is always within reach, whether it is midnight or noon. The mess hall is more than a refueling stop. It is where friendships take root and stress gets a short reprieve. A junior sailor might swap jokes with a pilot, or a catapult engineer might sketch calligraphy between shifts. On karaoke nights, the space fills with off-key singing and laughter, small comforts that matter when sunlight and fresh air are rare. Morale is measured as carefully as fuel. Each week, sailors log their mood on a scale from 1 to 5 at the psychological monitoring cell near the medical bay. The data feeds a central database, flagging anyone at risk for burnout. After high-tempo operations, group debriefs and resilience training are standard, echoing lessons from both Chinese and American carriers. In 2023, the carrier pilot pipeline opened to women, bringing new faces like Tang Chao Mei to the wardroom and flight deck. In these routines, meals, music, mood checks, the crew finds its rhythm, fueling both body and spirit for the relentless pace ahead. Steel plates arrived at Jiangnan Shipyard in Shanghai in the summer of 2020, destined for something unprecedented in Chinese shipbuilding. On a humid August morning, workers guided the first massive hull section into position. This was the keel of the Fujian, a project that would stretch 316 meters from bow to stern, longer than 3 football fields, and rise over 20 stories above the waterline once complete. The ship's design called for a displacement of 80,000 tons, making it the largest non-nuclear warship ever attempted in Asia. Welders, engineers, and fitters labored in shifts day and night as the hull took shape on the slipway. Each new block added to the sense of scale. Hangar decks tall enough to house a J-35 stealth fighter, catapult tracks running the length of the flight deck, internal tanks for thousands of tons of fuel. By the time the hull was ready for launch, more than 5,000 workers had contributed to the effort. On June 17, 2022, the Fujian slid into the Yangtze River with banners flying and firecrackers echoing across the shipyard. The event drew senior PLA Navy officers and a national audience, underscoring the political and industrial significance of the launch. For the thousands who would one day serve aboard, this moment marked the beginning, not just of a warship, but of a new chapter in China's ambitions at sea. On the morning of November 5, 2025, the Fujian's flight deck bristled with ceremony. The PLAN ensign rose against a gray sky as Xi Jinping stood before rows of sailors in crisp blue uniforms. His remarks echoed across the deck, hailing the carrier as a symbol of China's new blue water ambitions and a promise to safeguard the nation's interests near Taiwan and beyond. A formation of J-35 stealth fighters and KJ-600 early warning aircraft roared overhead, punctuating the moment with the raw power of modern naval aviation. Yet beneath the spectacle, the carrier's design revealed its own story. The Fujian is built for endurance, but some choices reflect hard trade-offs. The ship's 2 aircraft elevators, one forward, one aft, are a deliberate constraint, trading rapid aircraft movement for more internal space dedicated to fuel and munitions. This means a tested sortie rate of 40 to 50 launches per hour, far below the 120 or even 160 sorties per hour achieved by U.S. Ford-class carriers with 3 elevators. The difference is not just numbers. It shapes how the Fujian might perform in a sustained fight, especially in contested waters like the Taiwan Strait. Even as the flag unfurled and the party anthem played, the PLAN's 9-carrier roadmap loomed in the background. By 2035, China aims to field a fleet that can match the U.S. in both presence and power projection. The Fujian, for all its ceremony, stands as both a leap forward and a first test of what those ambitions will demand for the future. 3 electromagnetic catapults stretch across the Fujian's deck, each the result of years of engineering and trial. At 0827 on September 22, 2025, Lieutenant Commander Tang Qiaomei climbs into her J-35 stealth fighter. The launch officer signals. In less than 3 seconds, the EMALS catapult accelerates her jet from 0 to 160 miles per hour, pressing her into the seat with nearly triple her body weight. Sensors track every millisecond. For the first time outside the United States, a 5th-generation stealth jet leaves a carrier's deck propelled by electromagnetic force, not steam. Tang's flight is more than a test. Each catapult draws power from the ship's medium-voltage DC grid, storing energy in flywheels before releasing it in a precise surge. Engineers have recorded over 1,800 test launches, achieving a 96% readiness rate, matching the Ford-class carriers. The Fujian's deck is crowded with J-15s, J-35s, and KJ-600s, all launching in sequence. Tang's helmet cam records the deck dropping away, her call sign TQ-001 glowing on the display. For the crew below, it's proof. China can now launch, recover, and cycle advanced jets with the push of a button. No steam, no foreign help. At 0812, the deck is a blur of color-coded vests and hand signals. Deck Chief Li Wei stands at the edge of the catapult track, headset pressed tight, eyes locked on the launch cue. A J-15T loaded to 7 tons edges onto catapult 1. The launch officer's arm sweeps down, and in a blink, the jet surges forward, emails hurling it into the gray morning. The stopwatch reads 2 seconds from brake release to airborne. Li Wei's team barely exhales before the next aircraft rolls up. 0826. The J-35 stealth fighter, call sign TQ-01, inches into position. Its canopy glints under the deck lights. Tang Qiaomei's gloved hand tightens on the throttle. The launch bar locks, the signal flashes, and the fighter vanishes down the track, nose rising as the deck falls away. In the control booth, Li Wei's voice cuts through the static. "Catapult 2, ready for recovery." The tempo sharpens. At 0830, the KJ-600 early warning jet takes the third catapult, its wide wings dwarfing the crew below. By 0835, the first cycle of landings begins. Arrestor wires snapping taut as each jet slams down, decelerating from 150 knots to 0 in less than 150 meters. Each recovery is a test of timing and nerve. The entire choreography orchestrated by Li Wei's commands. The drill proves the Fujian can launch and recover mixed wings under pressure, every move tracked to the second, every mistake magnified by the pace. The flight deck is alive, and for these minutes, the carrier's promise is real. Right now, over 3,000 sailors and aircrew call the Fujian home, living proof of China's leap into carrier warfare. As Beijing trains its first women pilots and prepares more ships, the balance at sea shifts. The next chapter isn't written on steel, but in the resolve of those aboard.